this afternoon to BCB Live, the safest station in the nation. And yes, we have another fantastic panel here at the Women in Trucking in 2022. All right, guys, let's start off right away. Each of you here are a speaker, right, on a breakout session. Each of you have something that you want to talk about. We're going to start with you. What is it you're talking about today, and why are you talking about it?
Oh, right. Okay, so my panel is actually tomorrow, and it is about you are your roadblock. You know,
That would be me.
that would be a lot of us.
That would be me.
Exactly. And basically, it's about getting out of your own way. You know what I mean? To progress forward. You know, a lot of us, we want to progress forward. We have these goals in mind, but we tend to hold ourselves back. You know, and so basically, how do we get past that? How do we push forward? You know, without blaming ourselves, blaming someone else, and getting in our own way.
Wow. That would be me in a nutshell all the time. I'm always in my way, running to the fridge at night. All right, Charlotte, tell me why. What are you speaking on today?
I'm speaking on how to take the higher road when it comes to recruiting and retaining drivers. So get it, the higher road. In terms of just treating drivers like humans, not automating the process, not creating too much paperwork.
Real people.
Real people that just want respect and appreciation.
Wow. All right. Eileen, what are you speaking on?
I'm really excited. I already did a panel on mentorship, but later this afternoon at 3, speaking about facilitating a positive culture shift in an evolving kind of pandemic world. So I'm incorporating the theory of change management, the aspect of inclusivity in the workplace, and that's really important to me because culture is the single most important factor. And because I do learning development and marketing, my goal in life is to retain employees. Once we got to hire fantastic employees, but for all companies, it's better for us to retain them as opposed to having a constant evolving door.
Okay, so here I am. I'm just the guy in the room standing here, and I'm going to tell you it. And as we talk, positivity, positivity, positivity in the room, and what you're doing, and the messages that you're bringing. Hasn't this whole conference been that you've been here when y'all are walking around? Haven't you gotten that from the whole conference since you've been here?
Well, it's the women in the room.
Is that what it is?
It is. I've
Yes.
been to, this is my 5th conference in the last 3 weeks, and just in this industry, the nature is mostly men in the room. And just when I walked in here, you feel a different energy, and not to discriminate, but it's just
It's okay. I mean, I'm at the Women in Trucking conference.
Yeah, exactly. Like a lightness in the air, and it's really incredible to look around and see so many women in one room, all caring about this industry.
You know, I sit here and I talk about that, and the reason I bring it up to you guys is that in the other conferences that we go to, they're fun. They're also, but they go at the problems, right? We all talk about the issue, the problems, right? I'm hearing solutions right here in this panel that we're talking about. How excited are you about being here doing that here in this setting?
I'm extremely excited because I mean we are all women with something in common. You know, the common goal is that most of us are in, well, all of us are in a male-dominated field, and it's hard. You know what I mean? It's hard, and there's a lot that women go through that men just don't understand. You know, but women, because we're so different from you guys, we can bring a different flavor to the industry. And me, myself, I'm not a woman in trucking, but I am a woman within a male-dominated industry. So my experience is similar but different. But so I understand some of the struggles that women have within this industry.
You know, I look around and I've been in this business a long time. I mean, I know I don't look it, right?
21 for sure.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
But I've been doing this a long time in this industry, and I'm going to tell you that as women enter the industry and as they add to the success of where we're headed, it's pretty incredible to want more, right? So I'm just telling you, from the guy on the outside, I've come to realize, come to learn that I better get on board, because the talent, the smarts, the brains, the joy, all of that, if I had a chance to go get it, I better go get it, right? And where are we going with this in this industry with women in here? Charlie?
I mean, I think it's all about women sharing their stories, and that's exactly what we're doing here, talking freely about the challenges that we face, the struggles, and ultimately the wins that we've experienced, because people want to connect with people that look like them, that seem to have a similar lifestyle, and the more women can talk about their experience, the more women we're going to attract. It's inevitable.
And I think it's important that we do that, because my way is probably not the greatest way, right? You know, I mean, because we're not good, and we're learning to be vulnerable, we're learning to be share, but we're not good at it yet, right? Guys aren't really good at it yet, and we have to, if I'm going to go get that talent, that's smart, and out there in the industry and bring it in here, I've got to draw from you to get it in here, because are you my hero? And what I mean by that is we all have heroes in life that we want to emulate. And I think women need to be the heroes in this industry if we're going to emulate them, right? If we're going to draw them in, we got to have women heroes in the industry.
Yeah, and one of the things that I'll say that I think people, you know, women get a bad rep and men get a bad rep. And it's not about women working by themselves to change the lives for the future of other women. It's about recognizing that men and all people need to be our allies. Because if a single population could change the world, guess what? It would have been done. But we have to work together as humans and find that common ground. And, you know, my colleagues here spoke about, you know, we have to have a voice, and we have to, and I think having men and women work together brings different perspectives. And, you know, one of the things that I always fall back on, you know, emotion in women is seen as a weakness.
No.
And one of the things that I loved, one of my colleagues who is in my mentorship program told me that her new boss thanked her for showing emotion, because it helped him realize that if she was showing emotion, it was affecting other humans. So I think it's about embracing our differences and working together to create positive change.
You know, and we, you know, I'll tell you, as a guy in the industry doing it, a male-dominated industry, and looked at, it was the way in which it just was always done that way, right? I mean, it was just always done. But I think that's where we make the mistake of thinking we're going to get better by just always doing it the same way, right? You bring a new way of doing and thinking, right? You bring a new way to thinking about what you're doing. You're bringing a new way of thinking. And in order for me to accept that and to understand where we're headed, how do you baby shake the men out there to get them to understand it's time that kindness is not a weakness, it's a strength of character, right? And that we've got to come into tune with what's really going on in this world. How do we do that? How do we do that, Evette?
Well, first I think it's up to the guy to be more open-minded, you know, because sometimes you get stuck in your way of doing things, and it's uncomfortable to shift a different way. So if we can have open conversations about, you know, what needs to change and what will benefit, and actually give them a visual of how it will work, I think that they will be more open, as they are now. You know, they're becoming more and more open and more, you know, stepping out of their own way to progress forward, you know, because it's all about progressing forward. And in order to do that, the men have to really step out of the way and listen. You know what I mean?
No, it's hard. No, I'm just going to tell you, it's hard for me to listen. I mean, ask my wife. It's hard for me to listen. But I think we've changed too in the last 10 years, right? I mean, haven't we gotten a little better at, I know I'm not going to say we're great at anything, but haven't we gotten better at understanding that it's time? I mean, honestly, in the last few years, I can tell you, I'm not at all surprised when I walk into a boardroom and she's leading the meeting. I'm not surprised anymore, right? I mean, used to be, wow, it's not that way anymore. I'm just in there because she's leading the meeting, right? I mean, you see that more and more every day, right?
I see it and I feel it, which is interesting because my given name is Charlie. So for so many years, people assumed it was going to be a man on the phone or a man leading the meeting.
That's great.
And then LinkedIn came out, but I probably still get about 3 emails a week to Mr. Saffro. And I think the perception changes very quickly once they hear my voice, but I'm I'm not afraid to show off my femininity. I'm not hiding it. I'm very proud to catch you off guard. And guess what? I'm a woman.
Yeah, and I was doing it really good before you thought I was it. Right, and now it's time you gave,
Mr. or Mrs. doesn't matter.
Yeah, because that's what matters, right? It doesn't matter.
It doesn't.
Right.
It matters the job that's being done. It matters, and that's really, but I also think it's important that we do embrace what you bring to the table, because you have strengths that we don't have. You have them there. When you talk to your people and you get in a room, there's sometimes resistance, right? I mean, there's from the guys, they're like, but I mean, they're trying to get better.
Yes.
But when does that light bulb, do you ever see that light bulb come on? I'm just curious, because mine came on, my wife kicked me really hard one time, and it's been on ever since.
One of the things that I'll say, sorry that your wife kicked you now.
No,
I know. But I think even in, this is my 5th conference, I think as well, like Charlie, and the first year there was 500 people.
Right.
Now there's 1,700 plus, and they're planning for 3,000 next year.
Yeah.
So the fact that we are continuing to grow, and I think people are starting to realize just because it's the way it's always been done doesn't mean it's the best way. And for true inclusive change to happen, there has to be diverse voices at the table. And I think it would be unfair. I don't know if you know who Robert Greenleaf is. I came from academia, so you can't take me out of that. But he's all about servant leadership. So one of the ways that I find I sort of roll people over without rolling people over is I lead by example. And if my team has to be there on a Saturday, guess who's also there on a Saturday? And if I'm asking something of my team, respond to emails or do this, they see that I'm also leading by example and I'm in the trenches with them. And to me, that defines a good leader.
Absolutely. I mean, you lead from the front. You don't, in the Army, they gave me, my captain gave me a string on it, a rope, and he had two, and he said, okay, push this rope through those 2 quarters, and you couldn't do it, and then but you could pull it through easy, and you did it from the front, and you got to lead from the front, and sometimes to get things going the right way, and I think that as we talk here and y'all make relationships, y'all are really becoming the leaders and developing them here at this conference. Isn't that exciting that really honestly, and you have the chance to do that. What have you found lately that you have had the light come on, right? When did that come on for you that, man, things are changing for the better?
I think the more I see women in the leadership role, that's for me a sign of change, and just the state of the world now, how it is and how everything is changing and how we're trying to evolve and change with it. That's a life changing.
So we're trucking, right? And I'm going to tell you, I got here day one, we were in trucking. And I'm sitting in the conference room and I'm listening to the administrator for the FMCSA, and it's Robin Hutchinson, and she's talking, and I'm sitting here, and she's been in this industry as long as I have, and I'm sitting here and I'm going, wow. She accepted this to this conference without even knowing what it was, because they were calling about women in trucking, and she accepted it, and she was here. That leadership with Ellen here and everybody here, do you find them somebody to look up to?
100%. Ellen is one of my heroes. I'm actually getting my pilot license because of her, because I kind of want to be her when I grow up.
Okay, there's certain things we aren't doing, but okay. No, that's exciting.
No, and I think, look, it's very risky to try to change the world, especially imagine 15 years ago.
Oh, yeah.
But I know when I entered the industry in 2016, and I still am often the only female in the room, but I think of it as a privilege. because I hopefully am paving the way for other women who didn't have the opportunity. And the fact that my company recognized, I knew nothing about trucking when they brought me in.
Right.
And I had to learn it all, and I built our training program from the ground up, and then I inherited marketing, and you know, it's been a beautiful experience. And once trucking gets in your blood, you can't get it out. I can't imagine ever doing anything else. But I think change is happening whether or not we want it. So my challenge to everybody would be not to fight it, but to embrace it.
If you had a chance in all of your group sessions, in your break, and all these people that you speak out to, how hard is it? And I think here you're going to get a great reception, 100%. I think of here, but outside of here, because I think here there's a different energy. But outside of here, how is your message being received as a whole? I mean, honestly, Evette, how's your message being received?
Well, honestly, because it's so relatable, you know, everyone can relate to it. So getting out of your own way, you know, it's a great reception, you know. So.
Charlie?
I mean, I think the pandemic, as terrible as it was, there was a silver lining that created empathy as something very positive in the workplace. And that's the biggest shift I've seen, is that the great resignation, whether it was fear or planning or trying to be reactive or proactive, it really pushed leaders to listen to the employees. Employees want to have a voice, they want to be seen, they want to be treated like a human. And so I think the pandemic was a huge stepping stone to evolve just the way that we care for employees, the employee experience, employee wellness. So, and you feel it here. I mean, it's definitely different than it would have been 2-3 years ago.
You know, I think that's right on the money, because we got a big spotlight put on in the trucking industry, right? Because of the pandemic. For the first time in a long time, we were the heroes, not the villains. Because we were, and I think it's important that we keep hold of that, right? I mean, because we'll go back to be the villains pretty soon. I mean, they'll still be the. But I think that when we were the heroes, we have a chance to draw in more women. We have a chance to draw in more talent. We have a chance to draw in more. And if you're a guy out there or a woman, it's about time you join this organization, right? It doesn't man or woman. It's time to get in, get on, and get aboard of what's happening. I want to thank each of y'all coming in today.
Thank you.
It is pretty exciting to be here. I'll tell you what, before y'all leave, whether it be today or tomorrow, whenever you have your session, or whenever you get a chance, and I know you've got another one to go, let me know what the feedback was like. Honestly, just let me know what it was like, because there's nothing more disheartening than when you get out there and you get up there and you talk, that you don't feel like the message came through. I think I want to hear just stop by and say, hey, drive safe. I was there, and you know what? Cynthia stopped me and said it was awesome, right? I mean, I think that's important. And I want to hear how your messages were received.
Well, you let us know what you hear about our
Yeah. Somebody's like, hey, we attended that panel and
exactly.
Right?
You'll hear everyone talking about it. So.
And we will be back. You know what? Everything that I've heard, we have been talking to people, interviewing people. We've had them stop by, and I've talked to everybody. No one has talked bad about it. And you know, sometimes they're like, no, they've all been like, hey, they brought something to the table, you know, and we got a chance. That's what's different about these breakout sessions than you get in some of the other conferences. Does that make sense? I mean,
yes.
It's just a little
community.
Different. It is a little
That's
bit
a beautiful
different.
word for it, community.
It's a little refreshing.
Yeah.
And I'm glad I'm here. I'm glad we got to be here. But I want to thank each of y'all for being here today, for joining in. I appreciate it. All right, I'm going to ask you to do something. You see that sign right there?
Yes.
Okay, I want you to try it.
All right.
And I want you to read it for exactly what it is, and insert where it says insert here.
I got it. I think I got it right. So my name is Eileen Dabrowski, and I'm with Reed TMS Logistics, a Warner Enterprises company. And you're watching BCD Live, the safest station in the nation.
You know, that's how you do it every single time. I appreciate you. Hey, we'll be back in just a minute with some more interviews.